Here's a sneak peek from today's episode.
So it's just how one relationship, putting out content and profiling someone leads to more and more things over a decade,
Welcome to the Content Amplified podcast, brought to you by Masset. Our goal is to help you get more from your marketing content. Each episode is a 10 to 15 minute interview with industry experts that share amazing insights to help you squeeze as much juice from your content as you possibly can. Here's today's interview.
Welcome back to another episode of Content Amplified. Today I'm joined by Jeremy. Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Ben, I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Jeremy, this is going to be fun. I'm excited for us to talk about what we're going to discuss today. It really comes back to the core of why we care about content. But before we dive into that, let us get to know you, your background, your history, and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, so I'll give a 15-second version. I studied biochemistry at Wisconsin, University of Madison, and went on to chiropractic school. My dad suffered with really bad neck pain when I was young, and nothing really helped him for years until he finally saw a chiropractor. And then like a couple months, he was almost 100% better. So I saw him go through that. I decided, I think that's what I want to do. I went and interned in high school with the chiropractor that helped him. And I just saw people come in with a frown and leave with a smile. And I'm like, this is what I want to do. And so I went on to chiropractic school and I practiced. And they don't teach you anything. And you're like a master marketer. From when we were talking before we hit record, they don't teach you anything about business and marketing in chiropractic school. So like when you go out and you're starting a practice, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing here. And so I was starting to go to business and marketing conferences. At the time, we're talking like 2006, 7, and there were internet marketing conferences. That was like a genre of thing, right? Obviously, everything's on the internet now, but so I stumbled across this thing, and at the time it wasn't called podcasting. Most people didn't know what a podcast was. It was more just like publishing content online, audio interviews online. And I really took to it. It's everything that I love, which is professional development, it's learning, it's relationships, whether it's referral relationships or, not just referral, but client relationships, it's SEO, it's all wrapped into one 30-minute conversation. And I get to reach out to the top people I admire. And so I started doing that back in 2007, 8, and people were coming to me. And by the way, I'm running a full-time chiropractic practice, coming to me asking me to help them launch and run a podcast. So by accident, that turned into a separate business. I did practice for 15 years. I eventually sold the practice and the commercial space that I owned. And over time, I built up this separate business. And I met my business partner through podcasting. So Ben, you'll appreciate this, with all the podcasting episodes you have. When I look at my life, and I look at almost everything good in my life tracks back to a podcast. Okay. Now, I did not meet my wife on a podcast. That's the exception. But my best friends, I've gone to weddings, I've gone on family vacations. My business partner, that's how we met, through podcasting. And so just forming these amazing relationships. And so fast forward today, that's what we do. We're Rise 25. We help businesses build amazing relationships through podcasting, through gifting, and I love what I do. And so it was funny because for the first couple of years of running that, Rise 25, one of my friends said, Jeremy, you're running an agency. I'm like, what's an agency? I didn't even know what that was. I was just like helping people, solving a problem. I'm like, oh, you're doing this thing called agencies? Then I like kind of dug deeper into that. And so I just started reaching out to mentors and people. Jason Swank was one of them, where he built an 8-figure agency, sold it, and then he was running an agency group. So I just was searching out. That's what I love about podcasts and your podcast. I can learn from people. And I think I listen. I hate to admit this, Ben, but I think I listened to probably 300 of Jason's podcasts on like 3 times speed, granted. And then I reached out, joined his group or whatever. But I just, to me, is really fast forwarded. And as my friend Ed O'Keefe wrote the book Time Collapsing, time collapses money and time for me. So I'm always looking at people who are doing what I want to do and are doing amazing things. So that's kind of, I just love this medium.
I love it. And I agree 100%. I have gone to conferences and spoken on the power of podcasting, challenging the audience that every single person should run and start their own podcast. It is the coolest platform. And you're right. Like, there are so many good things that come from the relationships that I've built through the podcast. And it is a platform that everyone needs to start, especially in a fragmented world where we have the internet. Not everyone's working in an office. If you want to meet people, this is one of the greatest ways to do it. So I'm so excited. We would have never met if it weren't for this awesome platform. And I'm excited about that.
Yeah. When I'm in Utah, I'm sure we'll hang out. When you're in Chicagoland, we'll hang out.
We'll
So
get Garrett's
totally.
popcorn together. That's like my go-to. I'm obsessed with popcorn, and Garrett's is the pinnacle. So I love it.
Nice. But
So, Jeremy, what we're going to talk about today, and I love this, you brought up this idea, and I think it's amazing. It's kind of going back to the core of content. It's why. Why do we actually share content? What's the whole point? And I want to get your take, raw, unfiltered, unedited. Why do we create and distribute and share content in the first place?
So, like, I kind of bucket content. And when I think of content, whether it's on social media or podcasting, into kind of two separate buckets. And one is external companies, like interviews, right? And two is thought leadership, which is the company person's thought leadership. And we were talking a little before we record, is I kind of, to my fault, really focus on the first one, which is profiling and featuring others' businesses that I admire and respect. And when I go into a relationship, even when people talk to me about sales and they're concerned about sales, or they're talking to a customer or a client or whatever, I don't think of it like that. I go into the conversation not thinking I want to get this person as a customer. I just, the way I think of it is, how can I add value or help this person? And it takes the pressure off me. I'm not trying to sell them something. Now, if what I have is, of course, I'd love to work with them if it's a fit for both of us, but that's not my intent going into a conversation. My intent is, how do I add value? And the add value could be nothing about their business, right? It could be, I've had people say, Jeremy, I have this like weird tickle in my throat. And I'm like, that's my background in biochemistry and health. I'm like looking up, and we start chatting for a half hour about their health. And it's like, oh, wait, I wanted to talk about business. I'm like, don't worry about it. Like, we could talk about that another time. Let's talk about what's pressing for you. And so I go into that conversation about, how do I help them? How do I add value to them? And so the same thing I think about with content, which is when I'm posting on social, again, maybe to a fault, 99% of the stuff I'm posting about companies and people that I admire and love, and sharing what they're working on. All right. And maybe too little on our company and our thought leadership. I just figured, listen, if I form a relationship, and they'll figure out what I do eventually, and if it's a fit, it's a fit, right? And so that's kind of how I approach content. And that could be like, I love LinkedIn from the B2B space. I know you're in the B2B space. So LinkedIn, I love, but it could be any social. It's on the podcast, it's on YouTube, wherever it is. No one's ever said, like, after this interview, Ben, I'll take a screenshot and I'll post about your company on LinkedIn. Okay. No one's ever said to me, Jeremy, stop posting about me and my company. Okay. Ever. Right. And it also makes it easy for them to share it and market their own company. And it's also, I feel like, an edification. It's easier. So I'm giving a talk at a conference in Atlanta at the end of the week, and I want to profile some of the people in the room in my talk. And one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to deliver value ahead of time. So again, I have right now, it's a Tuesday, it starts Friday. So I have like 3 days to prove this out. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to their partners and start introducing. I don't know them. I don't know their partner. Okay. But I'm doing an experiment. I like to do experiments when someone has me talk, which is adding value to the people there. And the experiment will be, hey, this person is these are functional medicine doctor, chiropractors. This person's in your area. And it may be like, let's say, a fitness studio or someone that's a potential partner. I'll go to them. I'll go, hey, you both should meet and collaborate. You're both doing cool things. I don't know either of them, by the way, but I can do that. It's like, as opposed to that company reaching out, it's a different approach, and it's a different authority if someone else is doing it than if that company is doing it. So we'll see what happens. I mean, either way, when someone responds like, oh, cool, you want me to make an intro? Cool, I'll intro you, and you'll see where it goes.
I love that. And I'm going to actually put a reminder. I need to email you and see how this goes. I'm curious. This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at it, so I love this concept of adding value. You're trying to help people, and a lot of these examples are one-off, right? So it's the ability to go to a specific person, specific business. How do I help them? Is there any way to multiply the impact of help beyond just a single person, or is that good enough? Like, what are your thoughts and opinions there?
Yeah, totally. That's a good question. So when I look at this, goes to one of my favorite books is Adam Grant's Give and Take, and he talks about the most successful and least successful people are givers. Okay, and there's matchers and takers. And the reason, and I was looking at, he's a researcher, so if you could check out the book, but the difference between the most successful and least successful givers are, it depends who they give to, right? And so I personally look at, on, am I giving to other givers who are going to appreciate it, and just in their like, if you introduce people to me, I'm a natural person who likes to make introductions. I probably make 5 to 20 introductions a day to people. Okay, that's just my natural way of being. So if I do that for other givers, it's the same thing. But to your point is, okay, so one, I want to give the givers. The second is, what's a leverage way of doing it is I think of that exact question you asked, because it can be a very like manual process, but I look at referral partnerships and strategic partnerships. So who are the companies and people have reservoirs of the exact same type of people that I want? And so that one relationship, that it's like that small hinge that swings big doors type of situation. What's that one relationship that could lead to 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 relationships for both of us?
Yep.
And like when we were talking, that's just how I think. When I was thinking of your company, because like you help people kind of put all of their content into a database so they can access it, and the sales teams and marketing teams can access it. And you're like, okay, these companies have HubSpot, are often on HubSpot and Salesforce. Usually someone on HubSpot and Salesforce are bigger companies anyways, and they're SaaS companies. I'm thinking, okay, well, who are the top people I could introduce to Ben who are EOS implementers who may have like 30 clients, right? EOS implementers, I mean, they're paying, a decent amount of money to have that. So they're kind of pre-qualified to work with Ben and what they do. Who are the Salesforce or HubSpot agencies? They may have like 30 or 40 clients that would be like, oh, this is a cool solution, we should have them check it out, right? And so that's the way I think of it. Obviously that person's a giver, and then they are kind of serving the same type of clientele that I am. That's the way I think about it. So if I pour a lot of energy into that person, no problem, that could lead to, as opposed to pouring that one energy into a client, which is a potential client, which is fine. But again, this is a long game. Like, it's not going to be like, boom, something's going to happen. It's like, I form a relationship over a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and we start collaborating together. That's the way I think of it.
I love that. And I love that definition. I love how you're focusing on the relationships that can expand and grow and can exponential and all that kind of fun stuff. So because we're running out of time, we're so close to the end, and I feel like you have such rich experience. I'm going to throw you a curveball. It's kind of hard to ask these questions because it's out of nowhere. Yeah. Any cool stories or experiences that you've had about providing content and value to people that have built like cool relationships, cool experiences, things like that have helped your life? I mean, you talked about vacations and friends and been to weddings and all that kind of crazy stuff. But as I'm saying this really long-winded question, trying to give you time to think, any examples or anything like that comes to mind from like leveraging value to build up a new partnership?
Totally. Yeah, I have a lot of examples. One in particular stands out. So a good friend, Chad Rubin, he runs a company, Prophecy, and they basically they're like a pricing tool for e-commerce on Amazon. Originally we met, and this may be thinking, I don't know how many years ago, let's say 7 years ago, I don't remember, but I had him on, we were chatting for a podcast episode. I was profiling at the time. He was running Skubana, which is a software for e-commerce logistics, and we just hit it off. Okay. I promoted his company, obviously, on the podcast. And then I'm like, listen, I love what you're doing. First of all, I became a customer of his for my separate e-commerce business. Second of all, I said, hey, I'd love to gift you some sponsorship to my episodes because I love what you're doing. I gifted him a couple episodes. He eventually hired us to help him with some of the content and that they were doing. Oh, we went and stayed at his house in Miami. And I had I'm in EO Chicago, entrepreneurs organization. He had our whole group out on his boat, but it started with profiling his company. And it started with me being like, I just want to continue sharing what's going on with your company. As you know, that one podcast episode is a blog post. It goes across 12 different podcast channels and YouTube, and we email out to our list. We share it with our 20,000 person LinkedIn and everything like that. So just adding value there. But again, like, just had a birthday party. He had a non-traditional birthday party, called it Chad X, and at a conference for his birthday party. And it was a conference of his best friends. And so he asked me to speak there. And this comes full circle. I probably chat with him on a daily basis. So it's just how one relationship, putting out content and profiling someone, leads to more and more things over a decade.
I love that. And my 2 cents real quick before we end this episode and get people back to their days. This is the exact way that you should, quote unquote, network. There are so many people, when they talk about networking, it's just about, what can you give me? Trying to get in there with the sales pitch, things like that. Real networking is building value, creating value, building relationships, and then eventually over time, it may yield some fruit on the partnership side, but it really is building that relationship. So I love the perfect example of how to network. That's amazing. Jeremy, we're out of time. I told you go by quick. These are fast episodes. I am so impressed. I loved this conversation. It was amazing. For anyone listening that wants to reach out and connect with you online, how and where can they find you?
I mean, you could go to inspiredinsider.com is my podcast. It's funny, this whole process of talking about podcasts, I can never mention my podcast, but you could contact me there, or rise25.com if you email the contact form. I'm also very active on LinkedIn under Jeremy Weisz, Weisz. You can connect with me. I do check, even though I have 18,000 people that I'm connected with, I do literally check every message, and usually I'll accept ones that send me a personal message. So please just say, if you mentioned Ben's name, of course, you're in. I'd love to connect with you. So you can connect with me there as well.
I love it. For anyone listening, just scroll down to the show notes. We will link to all that different information and to Jeremy right there, so you can connect quick with him. Jeremy, thank you. Thank you for the insights. Thank you for everything today. This was amazing. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you for listening to the Content Amplified podcast. Please subscribe and leave us a review. And for additional ways to get more out of your content, visit our website at getmasset.com. That's getmasset.com. And tune in next time to the Content Amplified podcast.